Today I'm going to get to do an unboxing video. First rule of unboxing, always choose something inappropriate. Perfect. Right, well that was a lot of cling film. So, let's get in this and see what we've got. So, I'm very excited now. I've been speaking to Sony over the last couple of months and very kindly decided to send me a pre-production PlayStation 6 developer console. Now, this is probably not going to be the finished item, so there's going to be some differences, but yeah, let's have a look at what dashboard. Where's the two dashboards? Okay, we're back. Yeah, I just had a sit down and a cup of coffee there. So yeah, these came from Reedish Motorsport, and they've been looking after a hell of a lot of M cars and restoration. And some of the things that they do, again, if they got a car with a dodgy dashboard, they'll sort that out as well. And I'll give them a hand doing that stuff. So we're going to be doing mileage and VIN, so these can go in as a replacement for a faulty dashboard in a clock. So here are the two that we have. These are both SMG ones. You can see via the window we have down here, although it's interesting, I can see if I get the reflection out the way, there's some tape over that. So I wonder if this was an SMG dash used on a manual or in a manual conversion, and somebody taped over that light. You can turn that off in coding. That's what I would do. But also another thing is, yeah, you can just tape it over just to hide it. The manual version, you would have a plastic slip here that would go straight over that, and it would hide all of that section. So it would just look like this, apart from the fact is you can see that faint silhouette of the car. On this side, it would be the same sort of thing, but you wouldn't see the silhouette through. So first things we're going to have to do on these is power them up, check and see what they're doing. I'm going to have to note down the mileages on each one, and then we'll have to open them up and have a look inside. I don't know if I'll get it on camera. What if I can find the angle? There is a little bit of crazing. We have there. Oh, there we go. That's it. That little sparkly bit on the top. A little bit of crazing because that plastic on the lens, or the screen or the window, whatever you want to call it, I guess that would have had a little bit of flexing, and that does those tiny little micro cracks, which do that sort of a spider web effect. You can see a good bit over there glistening about. If this camera will focus for me, there we go. So they might want to swap or at least keep their old one. This one here looks pretty decent, just a little bit dusty. Give it a wipe off. I will give them a clean later on. Good thing to do is just some of your car polishes, not your waxes, but your stuff like, what is that behind me? Ferroclar, that kind of stuff. They're good at polishing up plastic, so they can take out a lot of these micro scratches, and quite often these things will come up looking pretty much like new. So, yeah, we'll get a look inside and note down our details. I've got a little sort of breakout lead you can just about see in there, which covers the main wires there just for powering it up. We've got a ground here on pin 1. Pin 4 is terminal 30. That's our constant power, so that'll have a constant line going into it. And then our two others is terminal R, which is the first click on the ignition. Always imagine that as a terminal radio, the first one that switches on your radio. And then this one, terminal 15, which is your ignition fully on. So all I need to do now is power up power and ground, and we should be able to get this thing to at least show us the mileage. That's him awake now. So yeah, I just powered this one up and he immediately lit up. He's probably going to switch himself off in a few seconds, but that will at least allow me to note down the mileage, as I'm going to need to do that to figure out what algorithm we've got that the mileage is stored in the chip. So inside the chip, it is, I wouldn't say encrypted, but it's written in an algorithm, and there can be a bunch of different algorithms. So if I can compare this reading, that's a very low one as well, at 69,000, with what I see in the chip, I can then figure out the algorithm to change between the chip data to the mileage that we have here, and then I know which algorithm we've got. Then, when I want to change this to whatever mileage is going to suit this particular car, I can then use that exact same algorithm, so I know my mileage will come up correctly. So on most of these cars, it's a very common thing that whenever you have them powered up, or at least into a car, you don't need to switch the ignition on. Normally all you do is press one of the buttons and the mileage will light up. Is it this one? No, that one I think just as the clocks. This one? There we go. So even without the key in the ignition, often if you dab the trip reset button, the mileage will come on. I'm guessing this is like an MOT testing thing, or just checking out cars out in the car park or whatever, trying to note down a mileage of something particular. You don't need the keys. Most of these cars, you just dab the trip miles and the mileage will light up as long as you're inside the car and unlocked. I think if you've smashed the window and got in, maybe it might not work up. I haven't tried that yet. And dashboard 2. There we go. Oh yeah, see that one now. Yeah, there's our SMG display, because he's obviously not hidden, so we get to see him on that. So there we go. That one, 141,325. That's miles as well. In some of these ones, we might find out that the mileage inside is actually stored in kilometers, and then when it goes to display it, it will change it to miles. So yeah, as long as you note down that stuff, you'll be good. So I did previously say on one of my other videos, remember to mark down all of these needles in their rest positions. So I don't think this dashboard has been opened before. You can use this, I guess, as a reference. So we have our fuel gauge. We have it at maybe a needle width below the first mark. And we move over to this one. Again, if we move over, we'll get rid of the parallax. As see there, if you're looking at the speedo, the needle is below the dot. I go over here, it's above the dot. Then we get rid of the parallax effect. So I suppose on top of our speedo now, we are orange needle is just underneath the dot, just touching it. Going over to our tacho, and we are pretty much on the mark, maybe slightly low. Our temperature is pretty much bang on the first line. Sorry, that's the oil temperature, remember. And then our other temperature, that's pretty much bang on that line again. This is the other one, the crazy one with the crazing. And this one, now because of that tape, it might have been open before. But we can again see needle there pretty much on the line. This one, he's covering that lower dot. This one, he seems to be a touch above the white line. Our oil temperature, bang on, and our coolant temperature, what's that, a needle's width? Well, not a needle's width, a line's width below that first line. So I'm not sure which one of those is right. I will go through some of the pictures and track down just to see where they are. So all of this stuff now, these should all be in their rest positions. So the point of that is when you pull off these needles, quite often you can knock them off to the side a little bit. And that means then when you put them on, you're not going to be sure where the spindle is. If the spindle's turned around a bit, and when it powers up, it can sort of reset. All of these ones, they're stepper motors, and the stepper motors know exactly where they should be going home to, and it's not related to the needle on the top. If I took off that needle, spun in 180, he would park up then at, what's that, 6,700 RPMs, and then when you floor it, it'll go off around there and bang into that needle. So always good to get an accurate picture of all of these stuff. And we'll go into the needle placement a little bit later on. Well, there's our part numbers. If you're that way inclined, we have a hardware 10, coding index 24. That one, a hardware 15, coding index 24. There's a software on there, yes, software version 15. That's on the second line. This one, software version 17. I guess part of that W's gone scratched off, has gone missing. And then we have our other part number as well. That's the B&W part number, Bosch part number, and so on. But none of that stuff will affect what we're doing, as we're going to be going in, changing the mileage to whatever I'm told in some of these parts. The documents there, they've given all the details for me. So it's a VIN number, so we don't have a tamper dot, and also then the mileage to whatever we've got, and that mileage needs to be worked out according to the specific algorithm that's going to be in these ones, as I'm not sure if software 17 and software 15, whether they might have different algorithms on them. First thing to do,
back off, man. I'm a scientist.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Now, whoops, got to remember, get these off as well. There's one, there's the other, and this will lift up. We're going to pull these off now, our little silhouettes. There's one. They always tend to fight me. There's another one. Then remember these fellas, very careful with these. There's one. There's two. And there we've got our little legs, our poker things that quite often break. So, move this stuff out of the way. And now we're going to get the needles off. So, same crack as last time. You've already seen this trick. Get a bit of paper there. Hey, listen to that. There's a guy outside with the disc cutter. Where was he when we were opening boxes? So get the paper underneath and try not to disturb that needle as you're poking it in, because if you do scratch that side, you will twist it around. So that just protects the dials for scratches. So we're going to get these needles off now. I moved that guy a little. I don't know if you've seen that. That's one there. We'll need to check on the reset. Right. There we go. Needle's off. Now we need to split the front and the back. So we have the metal frames around these windows. So that's the next thing we'll need to do. If I flip him over, we'll want to release this, and this one. That does our mileage window, and then our SMG gear display. That one, and that one. And now he should pull up. Come on. Who's holding this back? Up, 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 up. There we go. And we're inside. And there is the chip we're after. So let's get this soldered off now, and we'll have a look at the contents. So we got our EEPROM out now, and I'm going to give VVDI Prog a second chance at this and see what it'll do. There he is, stuck in the VVDI prog in the special adapter, the super special adapter that's meant to be specifically for these kind of chips. And we're halfway there. As let me just pump up the brightness again, stop the screen flicker. We have read it out, so what I'll do is I'll save that now. So again, there's our mileage at the top, this repeating pattern. That's part of the VIN number, PM. So, oh, it hasn't highlighted over there. That's annoying. I think that'll be the P, that'll be the M. So this would be 95548. And forget about that last zero. So there's the VIN number. The first two letters are in ASCII, so you need to change those. And then these ones are just raw text, 95548. So that's what we'll need to edit. And the mileage at the top. So I'll need to save a copy of this, and let's see then if this is going to erase it. So we go up here, erase ink. Erase ink means erase the incremental register, which is this special bit at the top. So we'll hit that button, erase ink, yes. Initializes, it's trying, and that, no. Chip crack failure. So something I've been recommended is change VPP, which is our programming voltage, to 4.5 volts. That was originally 4.4. You can select some other bits and pieces in there. So let's go now at a 4.5 and see if that will do it. Hit the button. Let's go. We're over here. And failure again. And they said then if that doesn't work, try 5 volts. So bump him up to 5. Look at that. Load of warnings there saying it may endanger the chip. Try again. And no! Right, okay. That's another failure for the VVDI. Exactly the same as last time. So let me pull out the UPA USB. Well, would you look at that? I got it to work. So there it is. It erased down to 0 those first 2 lines. And how I did it, I just used the regular thing. So the special adapter does nothing apart from stop it working. When you stick it into one of these just regular ones, into our scocket, as we can see there, it does the job just fine. Okay, got the file done. There is our new one, mileage and VIN. I don't know what this is. User select no. Well, whatever. So now write that in. Continue to write. It's writing operation success. Hit verify. And yeah, I'm sure it would have told me if it had a problem. So now we can solder that back in. Right, you know the drill. Clean up the solder first off. Solder wick and a bit of flux. And now stick our chip back on. There he is. I thought I lost him. All right, let's give this a shot. So this is kind of awkward because right now I'm kind of like that scene in Ghost reaching around Demi Moore. Well, it's not Demi Moore, it's the camera. So there we go. A couple of solder blobs on there. There is our chip, and I've got him round the right way. That's our writing. So first thing to do is I'm going to try and tack him down. I'm going to try and do this through the camera. There's a little bit of a lag. Oh god, this is awkward. Where are our pads? There they are. That's no good. Right, you know what? Let me do this off camera. There we go. So yeah, I did it off camera. It's a hell of a lot easier. And that's him. Got him soldered on now. So now sticking back together. Okay, so got our fronts on. Again, you got to clip all these things around. Careful with these screens, I suppose. Try and keep your fingerprints off them. I've done kind of okay on there, but very hard to get your fingerprints off if you do get something on there. So we're on, and we wanted 114966. Oh, there we go. 114963. So yeah, pretty close. Again, can't be too exact, but that's close enough for government work. And there we go. So another thing now is that powering up. I don't know if you heard it. Let's kill the power. We'll go again and just listen very carefully. That rattle you can hear is all of those needles resetting themselves back to their home position. So now I know all of those spindles in there are going to be back at the 0, and I've got to stick my needles back on in the positions that we had there sort of marked up before. I have also looked and seen that this one is an SMG. Well, obviously we know it's an SMG one because there's an SMG indicator there, but this is going to be going on a manual, so I will need to do some coding on this one for auto to manual, but I'm going to do that afterwards at the end once I've done my other one. So now we'll stick the needles on. Power is off now, and we're going to go for these needles. So I won't do them all, but, well, I will put them all on. Obviously, you can't send it out without needles on, but I'm not going to show them all. But I'll just give you a rough idea because it is a little bit awkward with the positioning, trying to get the camera in. So this one was pretty much on or just under the dot. So I've got to line him up. I'm getting my fingers to set him up over where I want. I've missed the spindle there. Where's the spindle? Trying to touch him onto that spindle without moving around. Well, where is he? There he is. I need to go more over that way. Okay, I'm on the axle. So now what I'll do, we'll get something, give him a little bit of a tap. And he's on. So I'm not going to tap him all the way down just yet. There is our position. I'm going to get the rest on, power cycle it, then have a quick check and see how they're all calibrated. Put them all gently on. Oh. Now we have an issue. Check out that mileage. We've gone up to 999,000. So we've got a bit of a problem there. I'm going to have a look at that chip. Okay, and take 2. Right, so there's our mileage, which is correct. Now that worked the first time. So I took the chip off and I read it, and one of the data points had glitched. So I think the erasing screwed up part of that incremental register. So that is something that can happen with these chips. Quite often it will say, look, on a few of these cases, you will have them screw up and you need to replace them. I've had a spare, so I stuck him into a spare. So let's see what happens. Let's cut the power again. And let's go and reconnect. Oh. Yep, he's reading right. Okay, so back on with the needles again. Needles back on now. And all stable. I've disconnected and reconnected the power a few times. Mileage is staying where it should do. So now what I've got to do, just hammer those needles down a little bit, make sure they're down how they should be, stick him back in the rest of the case, and then I've got to move on to the next one. And now we do it all again with our second one. So this is the Crazy Dash. Well, that's nice. We've painted all the chips for us. Wonderful. Very fetching. Yep, I knew it. So there we go. A bit of tape over the SMG slot. I believe this one's also going to be a manual. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of that tape. It looks all right, but I mean, it looks black underneath there, but you can tell it's a little bit dodgy. So I'm going to peel that. Well, I'm going to have a look underneath that tape first off. Just make sure that screen isn't too gunked up. Okay, yeah, there's some residue on there. So I'll give that a bit of a clean up with alcohol and see if that does anything. So let's have a look. Let's get this fella off as well. And yeah, all of our LEDs are there. Sometimes people will rip an LED off the board, which is a bit of a mess. There is a blank spot there. If I can prop this up. Oh, there you go. Well, this fella. Now, what would he have been? Oh, there we go. So, like, cat getting too hot. So that's not really an issue. We do have, if you can see that one, I think that's the M track mode one. And yeah, he has his LED in there ready for it. So yeah, on some of these dashboards, you already had the indicator for the M track mode turn up. That's different to the skid control ASC, which is not on that one. I think it might be one of those. Oh, there it is, there in the middle. See, that one in the middle is your traction control off, and that's got the little warning triangle. This one there, that one is the M track mode one. So yeah, if with a bit of custom conversion, you could activate the M track mode on this particular car. One of these guys was broken as well. Luckily, it's got our little leg on the side. That's the bit that you really want to keep, because that's the one that activates the buttons. But yeah, it looks like the top of that shaft has broken off. I don't think it would have been that length as normal. I think it might have broken off, but it's still working. It might, in fact, be stuck up in one of these. So I'll see if I can't fit one of these on. Then it might suggest that there's a bit of broken plastic sitting there in the end. Well, we're getting there. Still traces. So I'll give it a little bit more and see if I can get that any better. Very slight mark. But, you know, you got to be staring at that. You got to be looking for that. I think that'll do the job. And we're in. So I don't think anyone has been in. Well, somebody has certainly been in before to put the tape on. That chip looks factory soldered on, unless it's somebody who's pretty decent at soldering and put that on. But check out that. So that's paint that's got through onto that strip, and that strip are the bands. They're the bands that go through on what I call the zebra strip, which is like a conductive rubber block that goes through to our front screen. So I think these were breaker marks because they were over all of the screws. And it's one of the things, they just put a bit of, it looks like road marking paint, to be honest. It's a bit of sort of like a matte spray paint just to see if somebody's opened something up. But not only did they get it over the back and some chips, but it also managed to make its way all the way through into our dashboard and around these. And those there, each one of those are the contacts that go through on these zebra strips out to our screen. And that's what I mean about let's try that again. And that's what I mean about zebra stripes. It's these stripes there and there. So I don't know. I wonder if we'll be able to zoom in and actually see. No, we can't really. So what you've got is alternate bands sitting, where are they? Sitting up and down of rubber that's conductive, and then rubber that's insulating, rubber that's conductive, rubber that's insulating, rubber that's conductive, rubber that's insulating, and so on. And when it sits in like that, it'll conduct power just directly down from the board that's going to be here through to the back of the glass. And we can see how the paint has leaked through and has got around onto that strip. So it certainly was working before. I've got to make sure now when I put this whole thing back together that disturbance hadn't screwed up our dials, not the dials, the screen rather, on our mileage display. Chip unsoldered, a slightly different version. This one, if it will focus, 35080 V6. Our last one was 35080 03. So ever so slight difference. The rest of that hardware does look the same. The layout certainly looks very similar. But yeah, that's the kind of thing you can have between different batches and versions. And this one, I think, is a slightly newer chip. So I'm going to give that a read now, and then we'll sort out the bits and pieces. I'm going to go straight for UPA on this one. It's VVDI. Not only has it been playing up and not able to erase stuff, then I come across a chip that starts screwing up. So I think that erasing, it didn't suit that chip when it's done out of the VVDI. But UPA, an X-Prog, for example, they've always worked fine for me before. Soldered in. I put the board back together again. And now we go for the big reveal. Oh. There we go. So yeah, we can now see our SMG indicator. We'll have to sort that out in coding. There's our mileage. Now, you might remember from the start of this, we were on about those kind of miles. We were only about 400 miles earlier, 400 miles less than what we have at the moment. The UPA did struggle to erase that chip. That particular one, the V6, it's a slightly newer one. It's slightly more secure. The whole point of them was you weren't able to erase them to set the mileage back anyway, but certain programmers, they can force their way through, and that forcing is probably what screwed up the other chip. But because it counts up, even though it couldn't erase it to drop it down, it was fine with it counting up. So I think that counted up by about 400 miles. So that all looks good. Let's try again a second one, because remember, this is where it all screwed up the last time. Oh. Power up, come on. Now we're not powering up. Oh well, we're back alive again. I don't know what that was. But yeah, I think it might be some capacitors could have charged up. And after it went to sleep, then it probably might take a while for it to, once I disconnect, for it to reboot. Since the capacitors hold a bit of voltage in there, disconnecting and reconnecting it, it's not going to do that immediate boot up. But yeah, our mileage hasn't glitched out to anything weird. So stick the needles back on and put him back together. Right, we're on to the final straight now. I have this all powered up. I have the diagnostics. He's connected on that one. Temperature gauge going up to maximum. Don't worry about that when you power things up. So this now has the power. There's our ground. The power, the constant power, terminal R, which is the first click on the ignition, and terminal 15, which is the second click on the ignition. So this is the dashboard all fully switched on. So that's why we have all these warning lights, the temperature up, our fuel gauge low with the light on. Notice that the temperature gauge doesn't have the light on because it's not actually overheating. That's just a I've got no idea one. So we're going to go in now on NCS Expert. and do the coding. So I will get this up. Data, load profile. I'm going to go with write. Okay. ZCSFA from ECU. E46. A combi. I'll probably do. Oh, yes. Yep. It's coming up. It took a while. Right. Now, this one, FA. We're going to edit our FA. We can ignore all this kind of stuff. The VIN comes up. There's a checksum on the end, so don't worry about the extra digit if you see one. There's going to be an extra digit. That's all going to be blurred out in the video. But you will get your 17-digit VIN and an extra digit on the end. Don't worry about that extra digit. That's not a screwed up mileage or anything like that. It's part of the checksum. Right, and there is our list of options. And 793 is Drive Logic SMG. So we're going to scroll down till we find that. There it is, 793. Highlight that, press the delete key, press OK. That so far has only just changed it in NCS Expert. I'm going to go back. We're going to go process an ECU, A combi, OK, OK, change job. And we are going to go to FA write. That is write the option codes in, execute the job. And there it is. So that has just wrote the option codes in. It hasn't recoded the dash yet. So we go change job again to SG coherent. This is the actual one where it is going to do the changes. We click execute job. That's executing it. This should reboot in a second. There it is. And it comes back alive. And as you'll see, with that wonderful reflection there, I've got it. As you'll see, our SMG light has gone out. So there it is. That's all now set up as a manual. And what I've got to do is repeat that on the second one. Second dash, same thing. SMG light we're going to get rid of. So exactly the same sort of stuff we done before. Now what we'll have to do, again, start off fresh, profile load, write, OK, ZCSFA from ECU, combi, and we'll let him read through. And he's done that. FA, adjust, E46, don't worry about that. Down, 793, delete, OK, back, and then process ECU, A combi, OK, OK, change job, FA write to write the options in, job active and job done, and then coding, OK, execute job. And should die. There it is. Reboots, and our SMG light is off. So that's it. That's them done. And that's a wrap. So there it is. All done. Thank you for watching. And I'll catch you on the next one. I've got to catch up with a guy who said he worked for Sony and he owes me a lot of money.